All right, special edition of the Running Journey. I'm Rob Tatro. It's my brother Charlie. Today we have a guest, Jean-Marc Doiron, who comes to us from the province that I just ran across, New Brunswick. I'm guessing you're in Moncton right now, Jean-Marc?
You betcha.
All right, Moncton. I went to university there. I got a lot of buddies out there. It's pretty cool. I've been following your story for a long time. Let's get into our guest today because this is something you may have never heard about. I've talked about it on the podcast before, but John Mack is elite joggler. So I use the word jog. He joggles. So he jogs while juggling, and that is the term joggling. So he's attempting an elite athlete, a 2:32 marathon runner. You're attempting to break the world record for the half marathon this weekend in Rimouski, I think.
That's right.
Okay, we'll get to that in a second. Then you're also attempting to break the world record marathon pace for joggling, which is 2:45, is it?
250 and 12 seconds.
250. So you got to break 250 for the marathon. So first question, I just want to throw it out there. First off, thank you for coming on the show. We're big fans. I'm a big fan. I saw you. I saw you in Fredericton.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, and I've talked about it on this podcast. I was doing the half marathon. I was running across New Brunswick to raise funds, and I decided to go do the half marathon in Fredericton. And I saw you zooming by me on the after the turnaround.
So it was
And
it was early in the race. That's good because by the end I wasn't zooming at all.
no, you didn't have a good day or what?
No, well I was like on record pace for a good 30-35 kilometers, but the wheels really fell off the last 8 kilometers or so. Yeah.
Okay, and that was a two-loop race for you guys for the marathon in Fredericton. For me, it was only one
Mhm.
loop. So I think I saw you on the way back of the first loop or something. You were flying. You had a bike with you, I think, and that person was recording, I think.
Yeah, that was my buddy Jean-Michel. He went on Survivor. He had just gotten back from Survivor Quebec,
Oh
playing
wow.
Survivor Quebec over the winter. Yeah, so a few weeks later, he was on the bike with me in Fredericton, just helping me out with. He was going to be my official witness if I broke the record. So like you have to, with Guinness World Records, you have to have two witnesses. One's the race director to say like the race was legit, and then you have to have another person say like I saw him start, finish, and then you also have a video evidence that you submit. So it's a whole process. So I ran with a GoPro on my chest for that race, and that's what I'm going to do with the next couple of races there.
I saw the GoPro that day. You were certainly flying. That's the race that I've talked about on this podcast before, but there was no one at the turnaround point for me because we had the shorter turnaround point.
Right.
And I went to the marathon turnaround
Oh no.
point, which was another mile and a half, I think. So I ended up doing an extra, I want to say 2 miles or 3 miles or something.
Bonus
Anyway,
miles. Bonus
bonus
miles.
miles.
You
Yeah.
didn't even pay for those.
No, they're
Yeah.
free. They're free.
Yeah.
So maybe Charlie, do you want to? Or how did you get into joggling? Is the first question I want to ask you.
I think I just been running for too long. That's what I've come to realize. Um, I mean, I started running when I was 16 pretty competitively, and I'm 36 now. I ran for university until about 2014. I was more of a 800 and 1500 meter runner. And then I switched over to road races just because it was more accessible. I felt like the track races, I really had to travel to Boston and Windsor, and it was getting just too much, and I was tired of that life. And I love the road races. There's a lot more stuff locally that you can do. But what had happened with the 10K and the marathon is after 8 years or so, I'd been on a plateau for what felt like 5 or 6 years, and when the idea of joggling came up, it just felt like a reset button on like, oh, I can get excited about running again. And I think that's one of the secrets to longevity is just finding ways to get excited about races that you do, because especially once you're done university, like no one cares what you're doing except yourself. So you better like find something that excites you, and it kind of has to come from within. um, I saw really had the idea for joggling at the Toronto Marathon last year because a buddy that was with me pointed out after the race, like, did you see the guy juggling while running? And I was like, no, but I knew it was a thing. I had seen that over the years. And when I got back from Toronto and I was like off of running for a few weeks, I thought, I wonder if I would be able to do that because I knew how to juggle and I'm a like generally well coordinated guy. So I just tried it out during the off season, and the first time was very uncomfortable. Like it didn't process, my brain didn't process what I was trying to do. Like one of the big changes that happened once I started getting more used to it was at first you're like focused on the balls, like your eyes are tracking where the balls are. So I was like, I'm gonna run into a car or run into a phone pole. Like this, it shouldn't be possible. But then what I started to do was like I work from home, so I would take 10-minute walks just 2 3 times a day, and I would juggle while walking. And eventually just that idea of like forward motion while juggling, it became more and more natural to the point where I could like just focus on the same way you would if you were running. You don't really think about where you're looking. You're just like kind of looking off in the distance ish or whatever you're running. So it kind of became like that eventually. So that was the learning process. And in the spring I started doing it a bit more seriously, and I've just been amazed at how much progress has kept happening. Like I keep hitting plateaus where I'm like, oh, this is as good as it's possible to get at this sport. And then 4 to 6 weeks later, I'm like, oh, I was terrible back then. And now I'm still progressing. It's that like feeling of progress and learning, and has been really exciting. And also just like having like everyone I meet so excited to talk to me about it. Like it's just brought so much life to my running journey. So it's been a
You're a bit of a
fun year.
celebrity.
A bit, yeah. Plus, I have a bit of like my Instagram account blew up at the same time. Not really because of juggling, just more. I picked that up as a like a hobby. I wanted to try to figure out how to like reach people on Instagram and kind of play that game, and it started to click around the new year, and that's when I started juggling too. So it's just been like a whirlwind of like attention brought to my running, which has been refreshing after kind of doing it in the shadows for 19 years.
Charlie, you know how this works.
Oh, yeah, yeah. No, no, that's amazing. I can't even juggle. So that's so. But you were featured in a CBC story or something at some point, right? And that helped your. I would imagine that helped your Instagram profile. I'm curious about how much like you're obviously you got to train a lot just to be able to run at that pace. I would imagine you got to put a lot of miles in. So how does it impact how you put those miles in that you have to also practice juggling too? Like how does that change the way you manage that?
I just juggle as while I run. Like every run is a juggling run. So
No matter what,
Wow.
you juggle while you run. Okay, I got it.
I've maybe had like 2 days in the past summer where I was like, I just don't feel like it. I
Yeah.
just like I'm just like I don't want to concentrate on this. I just feel like going out and running and just kind of yeah. So I've had a few days like that, but most days I go out juggling. One of the things I do is with big interval like key workouts. Let's say I'm doing like I did a workout like a 5x5K for my build up for a Fredericton.
Yeah.
And the second and fourth I did without juggling. So usually when I'm not juggling, I'm about 10 seconds per kilometer faster. So I was doing that just to keep like the turnover really efficient and kind of just blending back and forth between those two. That's something I learned from my old coach Joël Bourgeois, who's a 2-time Olympian in the steeplechase. He used to do that with he would set up hurdles in lane 2 and do like 10 times 400, but do like alternating on the track, then over hurdles and back and forth.
Cool. So, hey, juggling. Because I was about 14 or 13 or 12, I forget. I was bored one day. There was a snowstorm. I was caught at home and I was bored out of my mind. I picked up 3 golf balls and I said, I'm going to learn how to juggle. And I learned how to juggle kind of like, I don't know, in an afternoon, let's call it.
You're a
But I was a
teenager.
kid. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
like so easy back then. I loved it. But like I talk to most people like, did you ever juggle before or this brand new to you, juggling? Did you juggle like me as a kid? You knew how to do it. You could do some tricks.
Yeah, that's right. When I was 16, I was injured one summer, and that's kind of what I did as a hobby. So I learned like how to juggle 3 and throw it under your legs, and how to
Yeah.
juggle 4. And I was like learning 5, but never mastered it. And
exactly.
But
like
then I never really, it just kind of it's like riding a bike. It was kind of just a skill that was in the back of my brain there. And
and you'd pull it out at parties from time to time.
when I was
Bet you I
golfing,
can
just
juggle, a cantaloupe, a football, and a golf ball, and you juggle those 3 things. All right, you did that for sure.
I should have. I should have talked to you before my like university party days. That would have been a good trick.
I used to gamble. I used to wager people that I'd say pick 3 objects in here, and I'll bet you I can juggle them, and then they'd pick random stuff. But I certainly,
Nice.
I got to tell you this story though, because I saw you. I wanted to interview you. I saw the speed you were running, and I said, how hard could that possibly be? No, I'm kidding. I knew it was going to be hard, but I bought like the juggling balls on Amazon,
Nice.
and I have 2 sets in my office, and I said, I'm going to learn how to do this. I'm going to do what Jean-Marc does, and I'm going to learn how to do this. Well, we had a loop in our office. It was 120 meters, and I was like, I'll just do like you do. I'll just go for a little walk, and I'll juggle, and I'll start slowly. I kind of guessed that's how you did it, and I was
Mhm.
kind of able to do it. It was very hard. I would drop a lot. It was hard. Like juggling standing is one thing, but like it's a totally different ballgame when you're moving, right? But
Uh-huh.
one day I was like, someone's like, "Oh, Rob, can you juggle and can you joggle?" And I was like, "Of course I can." And I wanted to impress this person. I said, "I'll do one loop. I'll do 120 meters." But we had a pickleball court in the space, and I just like it completely, and I'm joggling and I'm going half decent pace, and I tripped over the pickleball court. We had so over the net and
Oh
full face plant right on my face. The
no.
balls went
Ouch.
flying everywhere, and I realized how hard it is to focus on the balls, to focus on where you're going, to juggle. It was so hard for me to do, and I'd practiced a
Mm.
little bit, and I'm terrible at it. So, um, yeah. So I just wanted to tell that story, and then I want to lead into. So you're now always juggling when you're running. Pretty much, you're doing this build. You got a marathon. You got a marathon attempt coming up. If you
Yep.
want to break the marathon, can you drop? Can you go over the rules real quick, and then can you drop the ball, or if you drop, you're kind of done?
Yeah, you can drop. It's you're not allowed to make forward progress without juggling. So if you drop, you have to pick it up, take 2-3 steps back to like the point where you lost control, and then you go again.
Wow.
It's also a big impact on taking water and taking gels. Like when I get to it,
Oh, I hadn't even thought of that.
yeah, you put your balls on the table, you chug water like it was a beer mile, and then and then you like grab your gel and like, you try to do that. So I brought it down to maybe like 20 seconds for a pit stop, but it's almost
Wow.
like a NASCAR style where you're like getting in there, and that was a big help when I had the cyclist with me, Jean-Michel. He would go ahead and like separate like 2 cups for me, so I could just and he would like point to where I would go, because otherwise it's just like every table's different with like volunteers. Some are holding it, some are not, some are leaving space. So he would like kind of find me a spot to grab some water.
He's coming.
But how fast you run your half? You don't need to stop. You just go straight. Right?
Hour 17. Holy smokes, that's fast.
Yeah. So the half marathon, it's no water breaks or anything like that. I just try to not drop.
Yeah. So what's your drop rate? Like, have you tracked that, and does it improved?
It hasn't improved a lot. Like right now I'll get maybe like a drop every 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
From
every 2
just
weeks?
like not, from like just all the running, like maybe if you would maybe like a drop per 15 hours of or something.
So you're
like
expecting
like
you're expecting not to drop once.
Well,
for
the more tired you get, the more probable it
imagine.
is to drop. So like in the marathon, like the first 10K I had 1 drop, and it was like related to like confusion over a turn. Like I was not sure where I was like supposed to exactly go. And in the last 10K, I probably dropped like 20, 25 times, probably like 5 times in the last kilometer alone. I was just like dropping and then standing.
You know what would help you is
like, I don't want to.
If you had like a pacer, that would probably help you.
Yeah, so that's another like thing you have to look into, because for a pacer officially in a race, you're not allowed to have like a individual pacer. It has to be like a pacer for the race. Like he has to declare like I'm running 3 hours, I'm running 2:45, and you have like a bib that says pacer, so it's fair for everyone. But with the water breaks especially, or with the drops, like he has to keep that pacer with me would have to keep going. I know I would have to look into it a bit more because I know Toronto, the Toronto Marathon has like a long history with Guinness records, and
Yeah.
they encourage you to have a guide, like someone who's
Yeah,
just like
yeah, like someone to
running with you,
spot.
filming. Exactly. So that's finding a someone who can casually run a 250 though is kind of hard.
I know one. I know one.
Because they're usually just like in the race to run too. So just because
And they have
so
to
if
do
you're
it
like a 230,
casually. So
Casually
like a
is the part.
225 or a 230 runner, right?
yeah, because you don't want to get dropped by the guy you're guiding, right?
Yeah.
So
So no drops. You're expecting no drops, obviously, and hour 17. So I guess if you
a few
drop,
drops.
it's almost, I don't want to say it's over, but it's so tight. Like how, like I was looking at your training runs. They're really really good right now. I don't need to tell you that. I'm sure you know. But like, are you tracking to beat 117 right now?
Oh yeah, I would say.
Yeah,
So
you
I
look
ran
so
I ran
strong.
I ran 117.40 in the winter. Like I was dressing. There was one of my drops was because there was a snowplow who like that sent like snow in my eyes, and I dropped. So I had 6 drops. I remember for and that was like the April or March one, the marathon they do in Tracadie every month. I had a bit of a tailwind, and I wasn't like following the rules exactly. I probably would have been like 30 seconds to a minute slower, but it was still like, I know that if I don't like, now I've gotten a lot better at the control with the juggling. So, just that puts me confident. And, I ran a 10K without juggling the other day where I ran like one of my lifetime bests.
What was
And,
that time?
it was a 33:20
Wow.
about. So like on Strava it's a 33:04. So that's what I say, it's like my third fastest time on Strava. I got a little bronze medal.
So I'm curious, like relative to your non-juggling marathon PR or half marathon PR to your what's the difference, like couple minutes or?
Yeah, so my like straight half is probably like, I don't remember exactly, so 111 something, and then
Okay.
the juggling is 117.
But
40.
you were a little younger when you did it, I would imagine. Maybe.
The half?
Yeah.
The 111.
No, the 111 was from spring of last year, 2023.
Okay.
Yeah,
So yeah. Wow.
my like stronger events, like in, there's like conversion charts where you can check like like the 800 is by far my strongest. Like I was 149 in 2011. The
Wow, that's
Olympic
fast.
standard was 146 back then. So
Oh wow.
in equivalent to a marathon, that's a 219. But I've never been able to get my like longer distances. Is like genetics or something.
You're basically a sprinter. You're basically a sprinter.
I'm more of a like genetically, yeah, I just grew up playing hockey and stuff like that and got into running later, and a bit of a bigger build. But that bigger build, it might be one of the reasons that it helps with juggling, because one of the guy that has the current half marathon world record, Michael Bergeron from PEI, he's the guy who in Toronto was juggling because he was trying to break the world record for the marathon. But in that race, he really hurt his wrist to the point where, like, I think 12 months, 10 months later, I was speaking with him and he said, I still can't juggle. My wrists are still like
Too much
hurting
juggling or
from
what?
that. Yeah. Because he had, I think at some point, the 5K, the 10K, and the half marathon record. So before the marathon, he was like it's supposed to be an easier record, but I think it's people, like, I underestimated like how like stopping for drinks, how much that would hurt you. But he around 30K started getting really like a lot of pain in his wrists, and he brought himself to the end, missed it by about 10 minutes. And it hurt his wrist for a really long time. So I think just the fact that I'm a bit more muscular, it allows you to have bigger balls.
You got big balls. Are they bigger than this?
I was not. That came out so funny. Yeah, they are. I don't. They're upstairs, but yeah, they're 130 grams. So they're probably more like this big, or like they like fill your like your fist there.
More like a
So
baseball, like a
what?
hardball type size?
almost like a hardball size, maybe a bit smaller than a hardball, but comparable. So what happens with that, because it's a bit heavier, it's easier to control. And when you're with lighter balls, they'll tend to like bounce off your hands a bit more. So I that took some like experimenting at first, because I thought like, okay, smaller balls, it'll be easier on my wrists and stuff for like if I'm gonna run for about almost 3 hours. But then when I switched to a bigger size, that's when I started getting a lot more control. Like I would get like 1 drop per 5 to 10 minutes instead of 1 drop per 2 minutes with the smaller ones. So that was like one of the things that you just learn from experimenting, because there's no like guidebooks or YouTube videos
Well, it looks like Canadians have been really good at this sport. It looks like, from what
strange, eh?
Yeah,
Like
the juggling and the beer mile. That's our national sports.
Wow.
Clowns and drunks.
That's right.
So back to the 800. That's your strong run. Do you have it? Can you get the joggling 800 meter world record?
I could, yeah. It's actually in the something it's on the bucket list, but it's I tried it this summer without training.
Yeah.
So dumb. Because I just hopped in like the provincial championships for the 800 on the track at Moncton, but it was a race with like 10 other guys, that like high school guys and young university guys that were running like all like 210 to 205, and the record is, it's confusing because I think it was like 213 and they took it off because I don't think they had enough proof. But then there's another video online of a guy on YouTube running a 209 with like, just like on a random Tuesday night or something, with like guys playing football in the middle, and there you see the guys are like, what's that guy doing? It was running the record for the 800 while juggling. So I went out and I was I think I ended up running 217 with a drop. So I dropped about 500 meters in, but I was like in a pack of people trying to like navigate and like passing people and things. It was a crazy like, because I think the hardest thing is like, I was on the back of the pack at first, and I was having to like really look at the balls, because what I've come to realize is usually I'll just look into the distance, and the contrast of whatever stable background and the balls is what my brain is using subconsciously to stay in control. But with a pack of like people bouncing around and moving and like 8 different people, it was so hard to control just from like the eye perspective. So yeah, that was one of my wildest running experiences.
Is there a video of that one?
I made a little reel, just like a 8-second video. I think I have someone took the whole thing, but yeah,
I have to check that out, because I can't imagine like in the pack, like there's like 20 other guys there, and
those guys are going as hard as they possibly can, and they're
on
like,
the second 400 meters.
Who's this guy juggling?
Oh, they knew me.
Yeah.
I've been around for long enough that people usually, like the younger people that are at the track. I've been in running for 20 years and at the track regularly.
Could you still win the provincial 800?
No, well, if I ran it straight, yeah, I could.
You would win it.
Yeah, because I think it was like a 2 flat or 158. So,
and you could beat that.
I could. Yeah.
Okay, so that means like that should be like next, because 800, like you could try 5 times in a night, right? Or
4 times. Exactly. It has to be like an official meet, so you have to like have like for Guinness World Records to recognize it. But you can also just go and have a video of yourself and post it on YouTube and title it, "This is the fastest anyone's ever run," or like world record unofficial or whatever you want to say. But that's probably what the best option is, because with Guinness there's a lot of hoops to run, to jump through, and like paperwork and filling and applying, and it's a lot of it. I would almost like want to like you say, like have like 3 attempts, but one of them is official, I guess. And if it happens, like I'll do that one, the first one, and if it works, all the better. And then if not, I'll wait like a half hour and try again once the meet is done, just by myself, something like that.
Then go ahead.
Yeah,
Charlie.
sorry, I was good. And then there's the 15
the
miles, like the Ingebrigtsen just go for all the records type of thing.
Yeah, well, I did actually look at the list, and they all feel like attainable if I would really drill down on it.
Well, if you could do
Um,
the 800 and you can do the half marathon, pretty sure you could do everything in between.
so there's different levels. Like the 5K is actually really hard. It's like a 16 low, I think, like
Oh, because there's a
16
lot of
10.
people that try for that one, maybe.
It just happens that, like, one really strong guy did it. If it's a newish record, so
16.
there's
Okay.
that. So I think that's probably the hardest one, and then the 10K is decently hard, and the half is actually decently hard, and then the marathon's supposed to be easier, but it's actually pretty hard.
It kind of helps if you have like a straight course. I would imagine like it would maybe help a little bit.
Oh yeah.
5K
So it has to
if
be-
you have a
has to be legal too. So it has to be like IAAF recognized. So like your start line has to be the same spot as your finish line. So you can't like abuse.
Oh,
with
it's gotta
wind
be a
or
loop?
hills.
It's got to be.
Yeah,
a
it
loop
has to
or-
whatever. The finish has to be at the start line. So yeah,
Really? Okay.
it could be an
Like
out and back or a loop or whatever, but it has to. Yeah.
Yeah,
if the-
maybe a gentle loop and then but try to make it straight. That's what
Mhm.
you need. Well, so hey, the 5K in Winnipeg, that's a perfect one for you. There's 4
That's the
turns.
fastest 5K in the history of
What's
Yeah,
it called, Rob? What's the one we ran? What's it called?
the awesome twosome.
Yeah, awesome. Twosome, yeah.
We won.
Nice.
No big deal. No big deal.
Oh,
We
hey,
won.
good job, guys. So you're allowed to do it on the track. So that's kind of the
Oh,
yeah,
the
yeah.
5K and the 10K. So it just you need to convince like a meet organizer to add a 10K and watch you run for a half hour, 40 minutes.
And
Oh,
okay,
yeah,
so the
people
half.
would watch for sure. People
Well,
would
I
love
would
that.
for sure. If you were here, I would. I think I'm thinking of booking a flight to Rimouski this weekend just to catch it, but I won't. Because I got stuff to do. But the half is 117 and the full is 250. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that does seem like the full is certainly more attainable. But I guess that it's not like a straight marathon where the fatigue at the end because of the drops. It's like not linear, right? It's not like it's not like you can't compare half to full in this, right?
It's hard to say. Like that experience in Fredericton humbled me on that front, because the actual IAAF points conversion equivalent for the 117 is closer to like a 242 244. So the
Yeah,
250
for sure,
is
yeah.
technically easier, but then considering that you don't need to stop to drink
Yeah,
or
that's
eat,
a big
and
difference.
that's about 2.5 minutes if you're doing it like super efficiently. If you're taking 5 gels, so that's already 2 minutes and 50 seconds of not running that you're planning. And then another twist is like you have to have the whole thing on GoPro, and a GoPro's battery only lasts 2 hours. So you at the half ish, you have to like switch your camera on your chest. So that's another like a longer stop.
You could, in
that you have to
theory,
do.
run 2 GoPros and have the guy give you one and just swap it out.
Or just switch, yeah.
Yeah, that's what we did in Fredericton. My wife was waiting at the half, and we had practiced like the pit stop with the GoPros. So
Might as well
I
get
just
some
sit there and-
nutrition too, eh?
Exactly. So I was eating my gel while she was changing the GoPro on my chest and everything. So, yeah. But
Yeah,
in Toronto, I'm going to be by myself, so I'll figure it out.
What the Toronto
Oh,
Marathon is in October?
Yeah, October 20th.
October 20th. Oh, the same day as.
No, the same day
No.
you're in Spain.
Oh yeah, I'm in
It's
Spain.
a week after Chicago.
A week after Chicago. Yeah, yeah. Okay. We'll definitely follow that. Okay, so then the training, like, do you have a coach?
No, I've been doing my own programs for a few years. I used to coach university cross country for University of Moncton. So during those years, I like really raised my knowledge of training, and I've always kept up with like I'll listen a lot to Steve Magnus's podcast on coaching, or the Science of Running. It now it's called, and then I just I have like books that I've read, and then I keep talking with Joel Bourgeois, my old coach, asking him questions, and I'm just always immersed in the space. And so yeah, do my own training program. I guess the most challenging thing I find is like yesterday I had to take a day off, and that was so hard to like, because I had on my training program, I want to do 120K this week. This ends with a big 25K run. But from Saturday, after my like 15K run on Saturday morning, I just dropped into like just feeling fatigue that usually you'll feel like for 2 or 3 hours after a run, but it just didn't go away. And so like the whole Saturday I was just miserable. And Sunday morning I woke up and I like woke up and took a nap an hour later, and then I was just like so out of it, and the whole time just struggling with like what about my plan, what's wrong with me, I'm so weak for stopping. And so yeah, just I started journaling a bunch just to try to like get my thoughts in order and just get some perspective on what my situation was, because it's just so hard to realize that you and admit that you're overtrained, and the best thing you need to do is like skip a workout, because like when you're I feel like when your default mode is doing all the workout that's on your plan and never missing anything, it becomes harder to not go for that run. It's almost like the inverse of like if you're not a runner and it's like so hard to go out and go for it, you just hit in like a reverse slump of that. So you get like your emotions get wrapped up in it, and your like identity, and you're like all jammed up, and plus you're like tired, so you're having a hard time process your thoughts anyways. So that's kind of what I found was been like the biggest challenge of. And I mean, if you have a coach, you'd have to have like a really proactive and present coach to like have that back and forth with like, oh, should I skip this run? This is how I'm feeling. And it's hard to have like that, like a coach that's actually like just like someone that you inbox daily almost. Those cost a lot of money. Or
Charlie,
unless you're a university coach and you're that's just like the parenting that you need to do sometimes. But yeah.
Charlie, we talked about this last week. Do you want to touch on this? Because we talked about this last episode. We touched about how hard it is for us to skip a run.
Oh, it's so, I don't know. It's hard to be on really. You go in denial. Like it's like it's hard to like look at yourself objectively to say, oh, I'm tired, or like, because you don't want to skip. You really don't want to skip a day, right? Like I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it's like like you said, it's like the opposite of when you're starting, and it's so hard to start. It's so hard to not to take a day off. No,
and it was
just like
sorry, go ahead. Like a 25K run at an easy pace. I can do that. Like it's not like oh, I need to go run a half marathon PB. Like I wouldn't be able to if I'm feeling that tired, but I can just go out, and after 5K, I'll get warmed up and feel better and just run through the 25K. But then you're actually risking having that like tired feeling last for days and days and days. Because now I felt better. Like by yesterday afternoon, I just felt like myself again. Like it just like I had the thought like, okay, now I'm good. But it's and that was the right decision not to go for that run. But it's just so hard because part of me was like, I can just go and do it. But then how miserable will I be, and how like snappy with my family, and just like grumpy, and just like not enjoying the rest of my life at all. And so that was kind of the struggle.
AGM, when I qualified for Boston last year and I was going to run it for my first time. My brother and I were training aggressively. I was having the best progress ever. I was tracking for like a sub-3. It was going to be the best race of my life. And then I hit some sort of sickness, long COVID, something. And I tried to push through these workouts, and I was so miserable, and I couldn't. And it was like my heart rate was way higher, and I tried to push through, and I kind of did and ended up being like the most miserable kind of month of my life. And now it was, and I had a terrible time in Boston, and it didn't do well. But now what I'm realizing is when I start to feel that way, and I certainly don't have your experience at all, but I wasn't able to do that 2 years ago, a year ago. I wasn't able to just say, I'm going to take today off. I was not able to do that. But lately I've done it. I've done it once or twice where I've said, you know what, I think my body needs a day today, because I'm certainly not as good as you, but I'm as dedicated as you, I would say, but I'm
absolutely
not as good. But
it's hard too, because like you'll probably eventually forget that lesson and need to learn it again. Because in my second marathon, so I ran a marathon in 2016. Just I kind of decided to do it and had a really good experience. And then I was like, okay, cool. Next spring, I'm gonna crush this marathon. I'm gonna go for the like open course record in Fredericton. And I just like had so much expectations, and then put so much pressure on myself, and then ended up just blowing up like 25K and having a miserable time. And from from that, I was like, I'm never going to train that way again, to the point where like I'm not even sleeping because I'm so stressed and so overtrained. Like I would wake up at like 2, 3 in the morning and like not sleep again. And just like it was getting really toxic. So I was like, okay, I'm going to train for Fredericton, but I'm going to train in a way that's fun, because I don't want to live that again. And if I don't get the record, then that's fine. And then this in 2018, I ended up getting the record while like I played hockey once a week, and I actually went in a hockey tournament like 6 weeks before the marathon, which would have been like inconceivable like the year before. I like didn't run for a week, and so I was like, just my whole approach to life and running was a lot healthier. So that was in 2018, but then I mean, we're 6 years later and I'm still having days like that where I'm not
Yeah.
I'm struggling with that.
That's a
that
really
lesson.
hard lesson to learn. Like, I'm going to add to your point where you talked about like having a coach or whatever. Like, I think for me, like I'm not mature enough to know, or I'm not aware enough of my fatigue levels to know, like that's probably the best thing that my coach does for me, is that he I would be training way too much if it was just me, I think. So
yeah, I hear that. Yeah, and it's, I mean, I been doing it by myself for a long time, and for it to work, I do a lot of journaling and just introspection, and I have like sleep tracking, and when I see like my sleep starting to, like sleep quality, like I'm waking up a lot in the night, that's usually a thing. Like it might not be the training, it might be like life, and I have 2 young kids, and so it's easy to get tired. So it just helps to I guess for some reason, for me, it's journaling that helps me have like get outside of myself and outside my situation and kind of be that coach for myself. But if not, like I'm not able to like get my thoughts go far enough to like see what's going on. So yeah, that's kind of been my way of getting around that.
In your dreams, do you see balls moving around sometimes?
I bet you're dropping balls all the time.
In my underwear.
So I want to ask you about the race day and race weekend, but I just want to comment before for the viewers that we are both Aigle Bleu alum. You're in an Aigle Bleu.
Nice.
Like
Yeah. I did my 5 years. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I didn't do track. I did volleyball there, but I did 1 year and then I got cut the second year because I didn't stay in shape.
Tall
And
enough, or
well,
not in shape?
I think I was drinking too much and I took the summer off a little bit and I didn't come back into camp in shape I should have been. But that was so fun. Like living in Moncton, like I just absolutely loved it. We used to go to Rock and Rodeo and the Cosmo and Los Mos dans le temps. It was just such a fun time. I love the Acadians. I love that. So I see your jogs, and you're jogging right in the area where I used to live, and right in the area where I used to. Well, I didn't jog much back then, but anyways, you have races coming up. So when you're for this race, are you gonna like? This is a big race, Rimouski. I looked at there's like 3,500 racers. Are you worried about the sheer volume of runners, and how are you going to set yourself up so you have space to juggle?
No, I mean, you get those races like Boston and like the world majors where you'll have like floods of people where you don't have space, but those are like 3,500 runners is a lot for like Canada, I guess, but in those races, like, I mean, 40,000, 50,000, and the road's not much wider, right? So I think New York's the biggest one, like 55,000. Plus
New York's packed.
Yeah. We did that one. Yeah.
Oh, I bet. And plus, when you're in a smaller race and running 117, like there's not going to be many runners.
Not a lot of people going at that pace. Yeah.
No.
So Rob, just think of Manitoba Marathon. Like there's there's 1,000 people, but it's like there's so much room, right?
Yeah, fair enough.
And we weren't going fast. So
yeah, once you start.
I did that 800 on the track, so I'm not scared of a road race with like.
Okay, right on.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you.
Do you try to jump in the like? How's your start? The start must be a little nerve-wracking.
Well, I do try to. That was hard at first, and actually, that last time I did the half marathon, it took me like a kilometer to kind of like get my nerves in space. Like I was like, I mean, you can do exercises top down or bottom up. Top down
Yeah.
is like when you're learning something, like let's say you're playing golf and someone's like, keep your head down and also like don't twist your hips and also keep everything is coming
Think
from the
about
top
all
down.
those things.
Yes.
Yeah.
So because you're golfing twice a year and you're drinking too, so it's like it's not gonna go well. But if you're golfing every single day and you're like, well, I'm gonna golf again tomorrow, so whatever, you're not gonna be like obsessing about where your head is at. You're just gonna be going out there and swinging, and the motion is gonna come from the bottom. It's gonna be all automatic. So that's kind of the big distinction where like mastery came in of juggling. It's when everything kind of became bottom up, like kind of automatics. So the only time I really need to like intervene and be like, oh, it's like when I'm doing like a sharp turn or when something's happening, like I'll be like, okay, I need to like really, and then fall back into my automatic. So but with the start, that is kind of a unique thing, because I'm not practicing like just going from a standstill to like a 330 or 340 pace like right away. So I've been doing like when I do strides, I'll start from a standstill and just go like I know where to put my hands now. It's more automatic, but that was definitely something I needed to learn for just the little moment, because I don't want to like I guess, yeah, when you drop, if someone's following you right behind you and you're like, I'm going for a record, so I'm stopping like immediately. And if you're right behind me, you're going to run into me. So if you're at this, that's the only part of the race that's an issue is the very start. So I'm going to try not to think about it too much. And I haven't had too many problems in the past. So
it's good.
And what is your pacing strategy for this weekend? Have you thought about where you're going to start? And I'm sure you have.
Yeah, well, I actually have a friend who's kind enough to come and run with me. Pierre Lecroix, he's from Dieppe, so one of the guys I used to coach, and I was a good training buddy. He actually lives in Montreal, but we're like always in touch online. And so he's gonna be there, and I'm just gonna rely on him to like run next to me, so he's not like breaking the wind for me or anything like that. But he's gonna be like just controlling the pace.
So
and,
for those who don't know, that is a
right speed.
5:53 mile pace or a 3 minutes and 40-second kilometer for 1:17. So most people can't run 1 mile at that pace. Very few can. So congrats for doing all of it. But so you're going to start. So he's going to start you kind of a little bit above that probably, and try to do a negative, I would imagine, or at that pace.
I mean, we're probably going to start around that pace and kind of let it come to us. Just kind of like fall into the groove, and if I'm feeling good, you don't want to take too many risks in the start. And it depends, because it's an out and back course next to the water, so there apparently always a direction where there's more wind. So that's probably going to be the main concern in terms of how I manage. The forecast isn't for too much wind, thankfully, but it should be like right in your face at one direction and in your back in the other. So so it'll just be
that's pretty good then,
managing energy that way. I'm not sure if it's wind going out or wind coming back, but it'll depend a bit. Like if it's a backwind to go out, I'll probably try to gain a few seconds, considering I'm gonna have to work harder, and just kind of just what's logical, like just like get a consistent effort, but the pace will go up and down based on
and
wind.
The main goal is just the world record, and like you think you could probably do a little bit better, but you're just gonna be conservative to try to make sure you get that record kind of thing. Or
in the half, I'm not sure anymore. I'll say I had a time when I was really confident, but this summer I tried to break the 10K world record on the track, and it was a crazy hot day. Like it was 27 feels like 37, and I had to drop out at about 5K in. It was like the hottest I've ever felt during a run. But just that training around that, because it's the same guy who has the record for the half and the 10. And just seeing how kind of hard that was, and maybe it was the heat, and maybe because it's cooler, I'm hoping that'll bring me like way better than what I need to be.
The cooler weather will help for sure. Yeah.
But just having that recent experience in mind, that's kind of put me in a humble place. So I just want to be on pace for 12, 15K, and then if I can drop the hammer, I'll go get it that way.
Yeah, so the 10K is what, is 35 minutes or something like that? 35:36?
34:46 for the record.
Okay, this website's dated then. And then I was going to ask you about oh no, sorry. Go ahead, Charlie.
No, I think that's That was the question.
Yeah, I want to ask you about the in your bio that you sent me. You talked a bit about how you want to be the adult you wish your children to become. You want to comment on that? I find that pretty interesting.
Yeah, that's been um I don't know where the conviction came of the do as I say, not as I do. I'm the opposite of that. I'll just try to be more. I think kids, what rubs off a lot more on them is our behaviors than anything we say. So that's kind of been guiding my whole life. So I try to prioritize just being a happy, good person in general. So that's kind of one of the things that I'm trying to optimize for. And it's always in constant battle with also pushing your limits and chasing big goals with my running. But yeah, it's led to things like when my son was born, and I had like my part of my identity was I'm a bad sleeper. I'm not good at sleep. My mom wasn't good at sleep. I'm not good at sleep. I'm just bad sleeper. So when my son was born, I was like, I'm already sleeping poorly and one kid's making it hard. So my second son, I'm like, I'm gonna really have to buckle down and figure out this sleep thing, or else this family's gonna fall apart. so I started doing all the research, listening to podcasts with Matthew Walker, and Huberman Labs came out right around that time, I think. And I bought this Oura ring to get really good tracking on my sleep, and just really dug down into it. And what I kind of came to realize was like to sleep well, you have to live well. Like one of the biggest issues I was getting was like 8 p.m., 8:30 would roll around and the kids were finally to bed, and I would just want to snack, watch shows, and just do all these things that would just wreck my night. But if I wanted to actually not like eat food, eat like overeat and get on a screen right before going to bed, I had to be in a more relaxed state, and that started with like how many breaks I took during work and what I did during my breaks. Did I stay at my desk, or did I go for a walk, or do yoga, or do some sort of like just getting away from it all and coming back and just kind of managing my energy a lot better during the day, because I have a desk job in communications. And so it became like a much bigger thing. And it's like, okay, well, why do I need to constantly be proving myself that I'm always like answering my emails immediately and getting caught up in that grind culture that we're all in? What's preventing me from like being confident enough to like demand like these kinds of breaks and this kind of like detachment, that the amount that I need? And so that like leads you into like psychotherapy-ish, or like a lot of journaling into like why is my identity not letting me what am I trying to prove to my boss all the time, and just kind of letting that go. And I also in that time like cut back on alcohol a lot, and just I wasn't like a heavy drinker, but I was like a 3 to 5 drinks a week kind of guy. And just after listening to Huberman Labs' episode on alcohol, I was like, it just like wormed in my brain, and like a week or two later, I was like, I can't get over this. Like I have to stop drinking for at least 6 months just to get like a full like step back from this. And I would say it took at least 3 months before I stopped having cravings, and it got a lot easier after 3 months, because but the thing that kept coming to me was like, I would get maybe once every 2 days just finishing work and be like, oh, can I just drink a beer? Like what? Like I have this rule. And then I would think like, imagine like if you're trying to quit smoking, you're getting this urge like 10, 12 times a day. And I'm like, okay, if people can do that, like I can definitely do this once every 2 days. Like it's not that deep into my like how my brain is wired that I can do this. And I stuck with it. And I would say like took at least 3 months. And I guess that was like in August of a few years ago. And when the colder weather came and summer like went away, I was like, oh, I don't know, it just like kind of left. And then I made a rule for myself where I would let myself have one drink every 3 to 4 weeks, and just kind of been on that trajectory ever since. So one of the consequences from that afterwards that was still in my journey was like, oh crap, I'm not drinking, and I'm still having a bunch of the issues that I was blaming the like drinking on. So like I'm still tired sometimes, and I'm still cranky, and I'm still doing this. So I go, oh geez, okay, so I need to go look into what's the real cause of these things, because I was just like, oh well, I partied a week ago or whatever, and I'm like, I missed a couple sleep, and then that's why I have some problems. Like I didn't realize like how much of a crush that was. And then after I after like cutting a whole lot back, and then I was like, okay, well I still need have some work to do. So so yeah, that's when the journal came out, and the
How often do you journal?
This summer I was journaling like probably like a half hour a day, because I was still just I had a bit more time over the summer.
How specifically do you do it? Do you type on your phone, or do you dictate?
I just love fountain pens. So I have a fountain pen, and I buy like a nice journal, and I love the like I just love the idea of it too.
Yep.
So so there's a bit of that, and then it's a lot of like free flowing, or if there's like a specific thing that's bothering me, I'll do that. And one of the things that I used artificial intelligence to like have like self therapy sessions lately, and that really helped a lot.
Tell me about that. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so I did if you ever heard of internal family system, I just it's like a style of therapy where like you treat yourself like you have like a family of personalities inside yourself. Maybe that's not how our brains are programmed, but for certain people like me, it helps to like say like, okay, there's like a young insecure person in me, and there's like a wise person in me, and there's a really hard person, and there's also like all these types of things. So the gist of it is you'll go like, okay, well, what's something that you want to deal with? And it's like, well, I had a lot of nightmares when I was young, and I thought I had like a really great upbringing, but I had nightmares till I was 18 and 20 and like really bad, like that would keep me up, and that was part of like why I didn't like sleep. So I just asked the like ChatGPT to have a internal family system session with me and dig into this thing of like having nightmares when I was young. So then it asked me, okay, well, where in your body do you feel it? So I had listened to an actual IFS therapy session on Tim Ferriss. You might know the podcaster. So he had like the founder of IFS on his podcast. That's where I heard of it for the first time. And so they had a session where they go for like an hour or maybe a half hour just going through the thing. So I knew like kind of what it's supposed to look like. So then he said like, what is that part of your body where you feel this the nightmares from when you were young? So I said my chest. So what was it telling you? And I just wrote, it's not your fault. And then I like started crying, and I was in my room. It was so silly. I was like, this is so dumb. And I was like, okay.
No, I love it.
Well, like, yeah,
it's not silly, dude. It is not silly.
Yeah. So it was kind of like, I just kind of realized that moment, like I've been carrying that, like, you're a kid and like, you think it's your fault. Your like parents don't want, like, they're like, and I understand now I have kids when you woke up in the middle of the night. This is not it's not a fun thing. You're not in your best state. So they would like try to like, deal with me, and like I would try to suppress it and not be scared, but I was scared. So like it was like, yeah, just having a part of myself tell another part of myself like it's not your fault, and that it kind of just released that, and then it just became like a bigger thing of like accept, like not feeling shame over feeling anger. That was a big one for me. Like I would feel anger, and instead of it lasting like 5-10 minutes of anger, it was like 2-3 hours of like shame over feeling that anger, and I like couldn't process it and stuff, and kind of that session just opened it to me where I was like, okay, I can do emotions a bit better, or have a different relationship with it. So yeah, that was why I was journaling so much this summer.
And now you see your therapist chat on a regular basis.
Chat GPT therapist. Yeah, therapist GPT.
I've never tried that, but I think I will. That's a phenomenal idea. Yeah.
So one of the key things was like having it ask you one question at a time, then follow-ups, because the default is just it'll ask you a bunch of questions.
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that was a thing.
Yeah, and I had never heard of IFS, but I kind of relate to different parts of myself arguing with each other.
I'm always arguing with myself.
And
fighting with myself. Usually the one that wants to like, break all the records and do a faster marathon and run at all cost and hurt yourself is arguing with the one who's trying to be reasonable. And that's for sure the same. So you didn't taper then this week? You have a half marathon and you didn't taper?
I have a half marathon in a week.
But it's on
Yeah,
Sunday.
well, I mean, yeah, the main thing is I'm really more focused on admitting I'm more
marathon.
focused on the full marathon than the
Yeah,
half.
okay.
So I'm doing like a kind of a half taper, so like just a 1 week, bringing it down. But the energy levels forced me to start that a day early yesterday.
Yeah, but it's just like a 1 hour jog for him. So it's like 1 hour
yeah,
jog. So he doesn't
So
need much of a taper.
part of it too, because I think you like the running like details was 2 weekends ago I ran the ice cream run, a 10K, and that's when I ran my 10K at 33 flat, which was close to my lifetime best. And then a week later I did a threshold workout, like the biggest dose of threshold workout that I ever do. So it's 7 times 7 minutes.
Yeah.
So 49 minutes, and I averaged 335 to 333 during that. So from those
pretty
two,
big
then
workout.
I was like, I can handle like a 120K week after that. And then it just caught up to me. My legs just felt heavy all week, and then I kept thinking, oh yeah, I'll just do a little hour run, I'll be fine. And no, I needed a full day off at some point. I took one full day off right the day after that big threshold workout, but I needed another one. So
Yeah, it looks like you're doing about 100 Ks kind of right now, 110 Ks a week kind of thing, something like that.
100 is probably the average. I looked at my yearly pace, and I was actually on pace for like my lifetime PB in terms of kilometers in a year. My PB's from Strava 3,700, I think, in 2017, and right now I'm on pace for like 4,100. So not really planned for that. It just happened where like I guess all that injuries, work from. Right? Yeah, I've been lucky with that. Like, I mean, I was injured my first year or two of like competitive track and field, and then since then been like my stride was like we were talking about juggling when you're a teenager. It kind of just fell in like an optimized state because
I have to ask you about that. Yeah. Sorry, I have to ask you about juggling because I did it for a little bit, and my wrists were sore. How quickly are you able to build endurance in your arms and wrists? How quickly does that go away, the pain? Is it like biking where the next time it'll double and the next time it'll double, or does it take a long time?
Probably. I mean, I was getting in smallish doses, like the 10-minute jogs at the start, so I didn't really have any big pains. I mean, one of the first time I did like a 3-hour continuous run, that I had to stop at like 2.5 hours in. But apart from that,
you're a much better.
You're
a natural. That's your sport. This is your sport.
Yeah, that's right. The genetics. My dad was my mom told me once when he was like in his 20s and he would play baseball, like the wives from the other team would be like, "Oh, look, that's the guy with the big legs." so yeah, I'm more of a bodybuilder type that did like distance running way too much in his life.
Okay, we got to wrap it up here soon, but I want to ask you one more question. Charlie, I'll let you ask another one too. But long term. So look past October 20, or maybe you're not. You mentioned a few records. Anything else? Like, are you going to joggle for the rest of your life, or anything else that it's kind of on your radar? Or are you going to press the reset button at some other point?
Well, doing this year of joggling, like I've been thinking about that lately, and I'm really excited to get back to trying for to break that plateau that I feel I've been on for a few years. So I'm expecting a third child in November. So
congratulations.
So that's going to be the focus in the right after the marathon. So I'll let that for a few months and not sure, but I'm actually really toying with the idea of running the Boston Marathon in 2025. So next spring
with Charlie.
Yeah, yep. I'm planning on signing up. So that'd be my chance to try to break 230. Nice. That's a number that I would love to get.
Wow.
And then yeah, I guess I usually do my goals more like 1 year or 1 season or so in advance, and I trust that something will come up, because like right now I can feel it. Joel, my coach, said that at one point. Is like, to run a marathon, you can't wing it. You have to really want it from like deep within. So I always feel like something comes up, and for me right now, that's Boston next spring. Kind of like the juggling thing came up because I was like, after Toronto, I didn't have something that really excited me for the spring, and then just when I started juggling and when I started talking about it with certain people, and just seeing the reaction, and it just fed itself. And then I was like, oh yeah, I gotta go try to do this.
Okay, cool. Charlie, do you want to?
Yeah, just it's been a pleasure. Like so many, you're so knowledgeable, and so many different topics we talked about. So I really enjoyed talking to you. One last question, I guess. So I really like what you just said about a marathon really needing to want it, because they're hard. Marathons are hard, and like you really have to like psych yourself up for one. I totally agree with that. And is the reason you take your 1 year goals is because you go for really big goals? Is that kind of what it is, or and it takes about a year of planning, or what's kind of the reasoning behind that?
I mean, when I've always worked in like 12 to 16 week chunks where like I'll start my training in that kind of phase. I mean, one of the constants I do is like I try to do 1 month a year where I don't run. So like usually in November I'll like sign up for a climbing gym, or just I skateboarded for a month. I just tried to learn how to do a kickflip and things like that. So I just have like one month where I just like do something completely random just to like give everything a break. But the 1 year, so I mean, one of the small things that I'm 36 now, so like I'm thinking too of like how many more years like till the inevitable drop comes. You see people still crushing it at like 43, 44 and getting their their lifetime bests and stuff like that. So so like till my mid 40s I could keep doing this. But then one big overarching thing that's stuck in my mind is Ryan Hall, you know who he is?
Marathon runner.
Half marathon American record holder still, or maybe still. But I listened to him on an interview on Peter Attia's podcast once, and he was talking about how around 32 he like stopped running because he started bodybuilding, and he went from like 137 pounds to 197 pounds over a few years. And that kind of fit well with a lot of the stuff that Peter Attia, like his whole message.
Oh, yeah, like, I read a couple of his books. Yeah.
Right. So you optimize for the last 10 years of your life. So you try to like prolong your health span as much as you. So after he was a very competitive cyclist. And once he was done with that, he was like, well, I need some kind of long-term thing to like give purpose to all my training. So he came up with a concept called the Centenarian Olympics. And
I remember that. Yeah.
For the Centenarian Olympics, like what would you need to be doing when you're 40 to be like at the world level elite at 100?
Grip strength is one of them.
Right, exactly. So like the two big things are like endurance is very important, but just overall strength is very important too. So I am wanting to like around 40-ish, right before 40, just when the window's still open for like real muscle growth, hop onto that train for and maybe transition into more of a, because now they have like those the High Rocks events and like hybrid athlete stuff. So that's probably where I'm seeing myself in like 5 years.
Yeah, my wife is signed up for a High Rocks event in a month in Toronto, actually.
I didn't know that existed till a few weeks ago. So that's pretty.
So one of the things I heard as a thing to strive for is being able to run a sub 3-hour marathon, be able to deadlift 500 pounds, something like that, 1,000 pounds. And
well, the one you see a lot of people try is the sub 5 mile and 500 pound squat in the same day.
Okay, yeah, wow, that's crazy. 500 pound squat.
Yeah. So the Ryan Hall, he tried it, and there's a video on YouTube where he doesn't succeed. He gets the 500 pound deadlift and doesn't get the 5-minute mile.
Both of those numbers sound pretty mind blowing to me, but
yeah, but he's like the best.
Yeah, he's an Olympic runner, right? Like,
and he couldn't do it. So that's why it's. And then there's a guy that I follow on Instagram that had a video of himself doing it. And I was like, holy shit!
Yeah, that's crazy. That's
So
amazing.
yeah, that you see like how excited I am just talking about that. Like that's on the bucket list for sure.
Yeah.
Hey, GM, could we get you back on after the Toronto Marathon to talk about how the races went?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, okay, we'd
Hopefully,
love to
well,
get
if
well
not,
or
I'll
not,
have.
but I have a feeling you'd be the type of guy that if they don't go well, you would learn from it, you'd journal it, you'd move on, and you'd get better.
Rob.
Yeah, I love tracking
Oh,
everything.
Charlie
So
wants to talk. Charlie's got his finger up.
No, just before you do your exit, we got to do a shout out to Leanne, who
Oh yeah. Oh my God. Yeah. Did you watch it this morning?
I didn't watch it, but
No, I
can
didn't
you
either. But when I got up first thing this morning, so we had Leanne Taylor on the show. She's a Canadian. She was a Canadian medal hopeful Paralympian, and she won a bronze medal this morning. Congrats to Leanne.
nice.
Yeah. So she was on the show. She came on the show, and she won a bronze medal this morning. She had a terrible biking accident, and she cut her C3 or I forget what, and she's in a wheelchair. And anyways, she picked up this sport and she's unbelievable at it. She's the
Wow,
third best in the world, and she got a
that's
bronze
awesome.
medal. So big shout out to her. And if you are able to break the record or not, regardless, I can't wait to give you a shout out on the
Yeah,
show.
we'll check that out this weekend.
Oh
for
man,
sure.
I'm gonna be following it. I guarantee you, GM. I guarantee you. So I want to thank you for your time today. We appreciate you coming on. I feel like there's a whole bunch more we could have talked about today because we went into other areas that are running related, but more life and longevity. And we could maybe touch on that next time. But I want to thank you
I
for your
love all
time.
that stuff.
Yeah, I could see if
Mhm.
you're journaling, obviously. And thank you for your time. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Give us a 5-star review. GM, tell your buddies about this podcast. And next time you're running, GM, and you want to listen to a podcast, listen to our show. Listen to our shows.
Yes.
Give our show a chance. Give our show a chance. And there's an episode with Louis Carmier, who's I understand is a friend of one of your friends or something like that, or his daughter is friends with you or something. I forget what the connection
Is
is.
it from Memram Cook?
Yeah, Memam Cook. Louis Carmier from Memam Cook.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, he was on the show.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah,
I'll
he was an
listen to that. I'll
inspiration.
start with that one. Yeah.
That was a heavy episode, a little heavy because we talked a bit about our problems with alcoholism, my brother and I, and we weren't doing 3-4 drinks a week when we were drinking. I could guarantee you that.
Yeah, that was on the week, and then the weekend was usually another.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for your time, GM. Like, subscribe, give us a 5-star review, guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm Rob, my brother Charlie. Today we had GM Doiron, who's attempting the world record for the half marathon 117 this weekend. Good luck, GM. All of Run with Rob, all of the Running Journey podcast is pulling for you.
Thanks so much.